Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Truthcast Podcast. I'm your host, Preach. Today we got rid of another guest. Um, I've been waiting just to get this guest on. Really was, and finally got on. So happy to have on. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody your name. Tell everybody what you do, and let's get started.
Awesome. So, my name is G.E.S. I am a Christian singer-songwriter. And my story behind that, which we'll get into a little bit later, is
Yes, yes,
I've kind of
indeed.
been doing music my whole life.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Well. Let's just start with what is your testimony? What was your come to Jesus moment for you?
Yeah. So, I actually grew up in the church, but I I did not give my life over to the Lord until about 2020. Um I heard a lot of things happening like around me about what God was doing, and I kept praying for God to like reveal himself to me, and it wasn't happening. So I thought he like wasn't real. And then I in middle school went through like this really like weird period in my life where I had a lot of like demonic attacks,
Mm,
and I would wake up and feel things like in my room, and nobody told me about the devil. Nobody really did any of that to say like how scary it could be. So when I woke up, I didn't even have words for it. I thought I was having a heart attack, but I was like somewhere between the ages of like 9 and 12.
mm,
So um my dad was kind of like walking me through the Bible. He brought me back to, but my dad basically walked me through the Bible and was showing me about like my authority that I had in Christ and stuff. So I was reading the Bible, trying to cast stuff out like in the name of Jesus, but I didn't actually fully surrender my life to the Lord yet at that point. So while I knew how real the spiritual was, I didn't actually give my life to Christ till I experienced God in Haiti in 2018. And that was a whole story on its own. But essentially, I led this devotional, and I literally felt like the power of God move through me to the point where I don't even remember what I said in that devotional. And I just remember flipping through the Bible, and it was like a crazy experience. So it got to a point where God did show up, and I had the choice of whether I was going to accept Jesus to come into my life or just deny him in my life, because at that point I knew he was real. So I gave my life over to Jesus like in 2018 fully, but then in 2020 I realized that area of my life that I didn't fully surrender yet was relationships, and I realized I was putting people before my relationship with God, and that's when I decided to like go all in and surrender every area of my life to the Lord. So
yes, yes. Yeah. So let's just get this clear. You grew up in the church, right?
mhm.
So was it you saying not like paying attention to the pastor, or wasn't or was it your pastor wasn't teaching the right things and wasn't telling you every single thing that you needed to know, wasn't really preaching from the Bible, word for word, not sugarcoating this straight pure word? Was it the pastor fault, or was it like, yeah, I know I'm a pastor child. I know, I grew up in church or stuff like that. I'm not really interested. Was it you or was it the pastor? That's the thing.
It was really me, because not only was I growing up in church, but then we also went to another church as well. And I went
Mm-hmm.
to a Christian school. So I was surrounded by like so much of the Lord, and both my parents are Christian and we've talked about it. Um, so it was really just me. So I even went to like college and stuff and studied science and all of that. And like things like that really intrigued me. So it was really difficult for me to like comprehend that there was a spiritual like God out there, and that he would do things outside of what we could explain. And I wanted to experience that. But because it was more so I kept hearing about what people were just saying, it almost felt like, well, maybe they're doing it for show or for attention, or
Mm.
maybe this is just their imagination or whatever. Like that was my whole mindset about it. So it didn't really matter like how what people were necessarily saying to me. It just felt like I wasn't seeing it for myself at that
Mm.
point.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you were interested into science. Was you ever interested into the Big Bang Theory? 'Cause that's a mess. That's a mess right there.
Yeah, so it was actually the Lord is so funny because he kind of used like science as this seed in a sense of understanding how real he is. I think I knew that there had to have been something bigger out there that existed. I just didn't know if it was God or not,
Right.
because even looking at science, like in my school, because I went to a Christian school, they taught creationism and not evolution, but they would tell us about like what evolution would say, but then back things up with the Bible. And I started recognizing when I was looking at like evolution in terms of like the Big Bang theory and all that stuff. When I started learning that a theory did meant that it was not a law. Like you have like the laws of nature and it's something that
Yeah.
you can test
Yeah.
time and time again and it's proven to have the same result. When I realized that the
Hmm.
Big Bang theory and all these things of how life existed, a lot of those were just theories. I realized that not even science had a firm enough foundation to classify it as a law. And when I kept asking myself, well, what came before the Big Bang theory? Like, how did these things even come into existence? Like the rocks or the atoms that formed this explosion,
Right.
whatever. Where did that come from? It was
Right.
like there was no answer. So
There
I was
wasn't.
like,
No.
okay, something outside of it had to have created it
Right.
because things don't just exist outside of a creator unless there is an ultimate creator that is outside of time, space, and matter. And so
Right.
when I
Right.
looked at God, I realized he's outside of all three. Therefore, he is
Right.
qualified to create all three.
Right.
So,
Because when you really look at the Big Bang Theory and just look at the big picture, they actually take God out of the equation, out of the picture, and they say like, you know what? One lucky day, you was a fish.
right.
You swim some kind of way, but then they say you was in the water, but you gotta ask like how did the water come? They don't have no
Yeah.
explanation on that. They say you was a fish, you was in the water. The tide came in, the water went down, then you got on land.
Yeah.
Before the fish died, you became iguana. You start walking and stuff like that, and and you can look at it, especially like if you was a child and stuff like that and taught like that and you believed in it. I don't actually blame the child because the child is naive of the fact and
Yeah.
just listen to whatever he's taught, the person is teaching them. So but
Yeah.
the Big Bang Theory is something, even if you believed in the Big Bang Theory, you got to ask yourself, how did everything happen? The little small details matters because they say
Yeah.
he was a fish, and they say he was iguana. They say he was a monkey. He was jumping on trees. How did the tree come?
Yeah.
How did the seeds come? How did
Yeah.
the sky come? How did the earth come? It's all these different kind of things that you got to ask yourself, and
Yeah.
you 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 come to a realization like, okay, they don't have no answer for this. And when you start like going into it, they like cut you off because there is no explanation of this. But yeah, that's really sad because being a preacher kid, people just thinking like, oh my goodness, when you're a preacher kid, you just going to be instantly saved. But more likely, like the preacher kid is the main one that would like to go out, if you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying. They would like to explore more.
Yeah.
They like to say, I've been raised in Christianity all my life. I've been raised in this. I've been taught so
Hmm.
many rules and stuff like that. Like, there's something else. There's something better.
Yeah.
There's something else out there.
Yeah.
And for the person that's not saved, they always experience things when they was like when they already in their teenage. They
Yeah.
already get into realization like, yeah, there's nothing out here. Like,
Yeah.
like I already did drinking, I already did drugs, I already did um having sex before marriage. I already did all this stuff. And yes, it was fun at the moment, but
Yeah.
this something else out there.
Yeah.
And once they don't want to realize Christianity, God, the Father, Jesus, and all that kind of stuff, if they don't want to realize that.
Hmm.
Then they start saying like, "There's nothing for me in life. Why am I? What's the purpose of life if there's nothing to do? There's nothing to live for. did nothing to survive and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, so let's get into the song. Let's get into the song. I'm gonna wait to get into the song actually. The song is titled "Giving It to You." What was
Yeah.
the inspiration by that?
Uh,
From that?
okay, so my writing process is very interesting. So sometimes I get these like randomly, I'll get these burning like sensations in my chest. It's really weird. And if I don't write, then I'll get like sick. And so yeah, so I was literally like in my room and there's also a verse like in the Bible in Jeremiah, and it says his words like a fire shut up in my bones won't leave unless I speak of his name. And so like taking like I don't want to say taking that out of context, but like in regards to what was happening to me, one of my friends showed me that verse. And since then we called it spiritual heartburn. So I realized that like was happening to me like my entire life until the Lord basically got to point in 2020 of showing me that what I was writing was happening, and like started planting this seed about how there's a gift that I had with music, and if it's not rooted in him, then it could be really dangerous. And that's why my life before Christ was like kind of going everywhere. And so with Giving It to You, I was basically in my room and I had that like feeling. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to write. So I just was finding different like beats and stuff like that. And whenever I know that there's a certain track that I'm supposed to sing or write to, it's like that sensation kind of like dies down a little bit. And I could just really like, I really gravitate towards that sound. And so I was going through different like beats and everything. And then I found the beat Giving It to You. So then once I knew like that was what I was supposed to write to in that moment, I was praying about what the Lord wanted me to say. And he was just telling me like to talk about faith. And so a lot of my music, you'll see it doesn't have a genre, because if you listen to it close enough, it actually like typically will match the sound. The sound will match like the feeling that you may get when it comes to walking in whatever it is that the Lord put on my heart to talk about. So faith, God was showing me, is supposed to be a fun thing. Like it's actually supposed to be something where there are plans that you have, but God has something so much better. It just
Right.
requires faith. And when you put
Right.
your faith in him, like the outcome is always better than anything you could have imagined, even if the process is painful, even if the process is hard, even if you can't see it.
Facts.
And so
Facts.
that's where I wrote that song, Giving It to You, where it's talking about how like I trust more in the things that I can see, but I know it's not good for me. And so
Facts. Facts.
that's kind of where that was coming from, just the Lord walking me through what does it look like to have faith, and then taking what it should feel like and making that into like a sound. So that's
Mm,
like the story behind that one. Yeah.
mm. I'm still baffled about the heartburns and the chest thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can wrap my head around that one.
Yeah.
But let's get into the song actually, and let's just listen to the song titled "Giving It to You." All right.
I trust more in things I see, but I know it's not good for me. So maybe I'm crazy. Maybe my faith's kinda hazy, 'cause you say hope for things unseen. So maybe haze is good for me. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'll learn to give it all. I'll give it all to you. 'Cause sometimes I get lost on what to do. I'll give it all to you. I'll give it all to you. That's why I'm giving it to you. 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 That's why I'm giving it to you. 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 'Cause my blessings and what I don't see, everything you have for the good of me. It's for the good of me. It's for the good of me. me to you. That's why I'm giving me to you.
Wow, wow. I mean, I just gotta say, like, there's some people that just need auto tune, right? Even for me, for example, I need auto tune at times, and that is God given talents right there. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yes.
Um, so you said this song was more like walking you into faith, in giving your problems and everything to God, and I think that's a lot of time that we fail to realize that we should mostly, I mean, like everything actually, just give our problem to God because you you we always hear the saying, walk by faith and not by sight, and all that kind of stuff
Mhm.
like that. But then it seemed like some kind of magic happened. We just forget about that verse. We forget about what we saw, and we start in that panic mode and start saying, "What can I do to fix this problem? What can I do to get out of this situation? What can I do to get out of this predicament? What can I do?" And the answer for that question is nothing.
Mhm.
You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. You literally have to give all your problems to God because what was the reason for him to actually die if he wasn't going to carry the burdens and take care
Yeah.
of the problems? And
Yeah.
uh, and he's taking care of every single one of your problem. He Because everything that's happening now, he always knows what's going to happen after this podcast, before this podcast, in the future. He already know what's going to happen
Yeah.
in our lives, and nothing's going to shock him. Like, oh my goodness, so and so just got in a car accident. Oh my goodness, what do you know? He already knew, and never know that could be something that he might want somebody to go to the hospital, and he's going to heal the person, and that would have been the miracle that somebody, it could be one, could be two, it could be everybody in the hospital needed to see and they get saved. You don't know what kind of miracles, what kind of plans God had
Yeah.
for somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything you want to add?
Um, yeah, I think like going off of what you're talking about with God being outside of time, like at first, like there's this period in my life where I almost felt like a robot in a sense where it's like, dang, there's nothing I could do that God doesn't already like know. But then I started realizing, and he's just been showing me that sometimes like I would wrestle with needing to control situations and stuff. So he's really like, even in this season of my life right now, walking me through situations where like I really do have to give it to him. But I think what's so funny is like you see when you even read like the Bible, especially like when you're reading in the Old Testament about how God promised that the Israelites would see the promised land, but because they keep trying to do their own thing, like the Lord allowed different things to happen where
Right,
they just faced that consequence, yet he still had restoration like in mind. And so I just think about the fact that even when I try to control the situation, if something bad happens or if something goes on, like that's the Lord allowing something to happen. Like it's not that like when I think I'm in control, I'm actually in control. And you see that in the Bible all the time, like people thinking that they're in control, but God sees what they're doing. And then like when they don't give it to the Lord, a lot of times they just face a consequence of their own actions because like God allowed it to happen. So it's like
right,
if he's gonna allow me to think that I'm in control and something happens or I just face the consequence of my actions or whatever. I'd rather just trust God while he is just in total control to allow just let him do things and move in my life than like me doing it on my own because you just see this repetition of people trying to do life on their own, how it doesn't work out the way they think that it does, but then how God's heart behind meeting people or like making his plans known to people and doing things is out of love, grace, and mercy because we don't like deserve it, yet he still does it anyways. And there's a lot more peace in that, knowing that I don't know the outcome when I trust God, except for I'm going to get his best, like even if I don't know the details. So there's a lot of peace in that than me stressing, not knowing what's going to happen next, and I'm trying to fix everything, and I still don't know what's going to happen in the end. So, yeah.
And just to add, the funniest thing is sometimes God just allow you to do whatever you want, and He allows you to think like you said, think like you have under control, and little do you know, you are putting your feet on a slow burning fire,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know that you're burning, and then
Yeah.
too it's too late. And then you start running back to God and saying, Lord, I need your help in that and then that and this and that and this. And I think it's
Yeah.
ironic that we don't really like I'm keep telling and I know whoever been watching my podcast and all that kind of stuff know that I'm keep telling people this that we don't give God his time. We don't
Mm-hmm.
give him his his time. We don't give him the right time to play. We just do like a quick 2 minutes and head
Mm-hmm.
off. Um, does that mean you're more holy than somebody else because you do uh, a 30-minute prayer or anything like that? No, it is nice to give God his time. And you can say this. You can't really say this. I don't have time. I got work this, that, and this, that, and this.
Yeah.
God had work to do as well. What
Yeah.
if he got down here and said, it's 2 more hours for my crucifixion. I don't have time. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do it anyways. I don't have time. Lord, you can take this cup. I don't
Yeah.
have time for this. Um, I'm calling down the legion of angels. Kill all the Roman soldiers that's in my way. I'm going back to heaven. I don't have time for this. It's good to see you, Peter and John. It was nice to have your friendship. All right, gotta
Right.
go. Bye. What if he starts saying that? What if he did that? And we don't just give him the 30 minutes of the day. Um, and maybe, not maybe, it will. Your day will be more fun. It will go more smoothly in your job, at your work,
Yeah.
um, through your day and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Your day will go way smoother when you give God his
Yeah.
time. When you get up early in the morning, seek his face and stuff like that. Early, like in the crack of dawn. Like me, I get up around, I say 3. I don't even have a job at this moment. So
Mm.
3 or 4, one of those times. And usually this is what I used to do. I used to always, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. I used to always turn my phone on, right? And I used to check my text messages and see who texts me, see what kind of notification I had on Instagram, Facebook, wherever the app was, right?
Mm.
And uh, and I started thinking like if I'm putting this before God and stuff like that, should I really be having this? Should I really be using this? And I
Yeah.
started to think like, you know what? I'm going to get up every single day. I'm going to give God his time. I'm going to pray. I'm going to read. I'm going to listen to Bible scriptures. And then I can check everything. And then, like, even if I spend like an hour or hour and a half, at least I gave God his time. So for
Yeah.
about a month from now, and I'm telling you, I've been doing this, checking my phone, for a long time. I just
Yeah.
started, even though I knew I should give God his time, because I did like a quick check with my
Mhm.
notification, all that kind of stuff, and then I started to pray and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But God will never take second place, right? He'll
Yeah.
never take second place. He
Yeah.
never gonna take second place. Never. Never. He always gonna have to.
Mhm.
He had to be the first priority in your life. The first priority when you get up. First priority when you get from home. Get if after you get done and walk in the park. Like even if you about to go to the store, like before you go out, you should start praying. Like because you don't never know what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Like it could be a shooting happening right now at the
Mhm.
local Walmart where you or me at, and let's say I'm about to go right now, and I don't know. But if I prayed, God
Yeah.
could tell you that don't go today, or you can
Right.
just move them killer out of the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't know. So even the little things, the bank, the store, going out for a jog, walking the dog, so on and so forth. You just need to put God first. So I'm getting in a habit. Like I said, I'm glad it's a month from now. It's a month I've been doing this, and I've been doing. I've been turning my phone on at first for a long, long time, but now I'm learning just to put God first. And when I first started today, I made a video on YouTube and I started saying it was called Put God First actually, and then I was saying like guys, I mean like just recently I just started putting God first. Not like I didn't put God first, but
Mhm.
it was after the phone, and then I play with my phone in like a little about 2 minutes, like just 2 minutes, and then I put it down, and, like let me pray and let me do that, right? But I like now I'm getting up and like let me pray, and then I can do this and that and this, that and this. And no, don't say, well, what if I play for 30 minutes? I don't feel like playing with my phone. This that's impossible. That's impossible. You're always going to feel the play with your phone, especially
Yeah.
if you're a teenager. There's nobody's going to force you. And I was on. I have another interview with this guy, and we were talking about there's nobody in the world going to force you to play with your phone. That's something that you want to do. That's
Yeah.
something that you're willing to do. You find pleasure. It's fun to do, right? But when it comes down to the Bible, when it comes down to going to church, when it comes down to maybe say volunteering for doing some little duties in the church, it seems like it's the hardest thing. It seems
Hmm.
like you can't do it. Like you always seem to fall asleep in church. You might, especially when you read the Bible by yourself or something like that. You always seem like I'm lazy, or you falling asleep and just going off like, and you don't know what. Like just 2 minutes ago, you just all up and everything. But like when somebody said it's time to read the Bible, or you decided let me go read my Bible, you start going to sleep. It's nothing but the trick of the enemy. That's for sure. That's for sure. That's
Yeah.
for sure. So
Yeah.
so yeah, if you got something to add,
Just one thing. So something that's helped me is understanding like the power of prayer and really remembering like you have not because you ask not, and
right?
taking that literally. So it's like, okay, if you want to start off your day in the morning with the Lord, also praying like, God, help me to have the desire to seek you first in the morning. Or if it's like, I just haven't been spending time, I've been finding it really challenging to spend time with God throughout my day, just praying like, Lord, help me to desire you more. Or if you're reading your Bible and you're not seeing God jump out at you, Lord, show me something new about you today that I didn't know yesterday. Like, and literally anything that you want, praying about it. And I think that I found that sometimes like it was difficult for me to stay consistent in my
Mm-hmm.
Bible or just in God's presence because I was like trying to force it where it's like I need to do this and then I'm like trying to do it on my own strength, but I never actually thought to pray for the help to do it. And when I started praying for literally everything that I was struggling with or needed, like the Lord has just helped so much. And I think one of the biggest things that has helped me was praying that God allows me to have childlike faith and curiosity. And because of that, like I've realized I've had a lot of like revelations or just creative ideas and all that stuff. And I think that sometimes God will allow people to see other people's situations about how they're experiencing God to show like what they show parts of their heart of what they want. But
Mm,
he won't
yeah,
always do everything until you pray about it. Because I think when you actually start praying about it, the Lord is able to show you the power of prayer. Like if he
right,
just did it, then you
right.
may have missed that lesson of the power of prayer and like your ask for God and his will to be done. And so I realized a lot of times like the Lord just won't do certain things even though I really deeply desire it
Mm-hmm.
because he wants me to step into prayer with him so he can show me like the power in who he is, and that's helped me out like tremendously. So,
Yes, yes, yes. And just to add, like you said, you have not because you asked not, and he also said, not the doors will be open to you, seek you'll find, ask you will receive, and that's not only spiritual, that's natural as well. And of course,
yeah.
you can, even though if you're saying like, well, I asked for this job, right? I know. Let's say if you was always on a job, right, and you want a higher position, right?
Hmm.
And you said, well, I don't want to ask my boss, could I have this? Let me
Yeah.
pray about it. And you don't understand that you still asking. You're not asking your boss or anything like that, but you asking the higher power. You asking God, and which you got control over everything. So when you ask Him, you still are asking.
Yeah.
And if you really want it, and God said He will give you the desires of your heart, right? It could be the little smallest little thing, right? Right? It could be
Hmm.
something that we think is nonsense. Like God wouldn't answer that. Like,
Yeah.
like, like this a few weeks, I think it was a couple of days ago, right? I wanted some juice, right? This is the smaller things I want. I wanted some juice, right? And my phone was dead, right? I
Hmm.
couldn't my phone called. I didn't pay it, and I couldn't pay it because I didn't have the finance at that moment. I'm like, okay, I said, how do I get some juice? Like, there's no way I want juice. I'm like, Lord, hope somebody brings some juice in, right? And not only when they came back, my parents came back. They didn't only have juice, but they had a dinner for me as well. So that's
Oh
an
wow.
extra blessing. So just the little smallest things
Yeah.
um, God will answer. God will answer.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so, so let me just ask this, and this almost about to be the final question. This is the question that I ask every single person that's on the podcast. In your opinion, what does it mean to be a Christian?
Um. Hmm. I think what it means to be a Christian is to um surrendering your will of how you think that your life should be and stepping into agreement with the purpose that the God who created you, stepping into agreement with that purpose and allowing him to work in you everything that he has created you to be. And so through that, then you give him the glory. And I think like the reason why I say it like that is because a lot of times like people can miss the detail of the fact that God knitted you in your mother's womb, yet immediately when kids are born, like there could be this mindset of my life is mine. But when you look at the statistic of you even being here and how God knitted you together and
Mm,
created you to be here,
right,
there's so much power in the fact that there is a specific purpose that He has put on your life for the fact that you're even here today. And
right,
if you don't step into agreement with that and like actually allow God to be the Lord of your life for how He intended you to operate,
facts,
you can miss why you're even here. And it's
right,
like, I don't want my existence to be in vain because there's a lot of other people that could have been born from my mom, yet the Lord chose me.
right,
He knit me together. And so that there's so much power in that. And on top of that, I get to experience his goodness here on earth before heaven. So there's literally no lose in the whole
right,
situation. So
right.
yeah.
He said he knew you before you was created. He knew you before you in your mother's womb. We can see in Jeremiah that he knows everything, and it's like he knew Jeremiah was going to be a prophet. He knew he was going to be asking excuses. Like I'm a child. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm just too young and that and this. But
Yeah.
God had a purpose for him, and Jeremiah was one of the greatest prophets in the Bible. Even
Yeah.
though thousands of people was against him, but he still did the works of the Lord. Any shout outs do you want to give out? Tell everybody. Your Instagram, YouTube page, and everything. So if they want to follow you and support you.
Yeah, so my Instagram and TikTok are the same at name. It's Guest Music, G.E.S, and then music with two C's at the end. And yeah, I mean, people watching may know me for my new song coming out called Energy. So that's still in the process of getting dropped, but just with YouTube and everything, I'm working on eventually uploading all my music and doing lyric videos on YouTube.
Mm.
But the best way to keep up with that, any releases, all that stuff, is just to follow me on social media. So yeah.
Well, guess it's been a great honor to have you on. Like I said, I've been trying to get you on for a long time.
Yeah.
Finally worked out, and
Yeah.
this been an honor. I really enjoyed myself, and that's actually all. That's all, actually all, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Until next time. See ya. God bless.